You said yes, Aaron. Yes to being guest on my podcast. I'm very happy, and we had a fun little chat up front. But maybe you can give us an intro for those who don't know you, and then we go back in time.
Yeah. So my name is Aaron Tan. I'm the founder of Syncere. We are building robotic lamps, essentially robots that don't look like robots, but nonetheless, they get rid of your chores. That's what we're doing.
And I think I jumped on the hype train. I think that video was very well made, and I think you were in everyone's mouth for a few days, and for good and for bad. And let's go into that one a little bit later on. Even though that was a masterclass in how to do a launch, maybe you can tell me a bit about yeah, where you come from, and yeah, I'm always asking the same question when it comes to the upbringing, education part. I'm very interested in these kind of things.
Yeah. Okay. I can take it like super way back, but I'll keep it like brief, and I'm happy to dissect it, along the way, if there's anything that's interesting.
Yes.
I was okay. Let's start from the beginning. So I was born and raised in Taiwan. My dad was doing a robotics degree in California when I was between the age of 0 to 2. So I was sort of in the Bay Area already early on, though I don't have much memory of it. But definitely grew up in kind of like a robotics household, which kind of like gave me that early exposure. Family eventually immigrated to Canada. I'm Canadian. When I was like early teens, did all my sort of professional training, schooling, all in Canada, until very recently relocated to the Bay Area to build this company.
Um, as you said, you're going through it briefly, and I can pick. Uh, Maybe you could tell me a bit about this adventure. I mean, coming from Korea to the US, it's an
Taiwan.
interesting choice. Sorry, my bad.
Please.
The I have a friend. He's Korean. We talk every now and then, and he is doing also robotics, a German one. Um, so. Was that something that was, I mean, was it hard to accomplish, especially if you say this is, what years are we talking about? Because you still seem very young.
Yeah, thank you. Coming, I mean, the hard part about coming from Taiwan, you mean? Like
Yeah,
growing.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, I guess, like, I wouldn't say we had like a special. I think we're like like a typical immigrant family, I would say, from the perspective of, parents work really hard, had to sacrifice a lot. I have a brother. We moved to Canada, just the four of us. Um, English was like a thing that I had to learn when I was about 13, or so, for the first time. Um, but I was able to sort of pick it up decently well, so that was okay. Uh, and then, yeah, just continue schooling. So I'm sure, there's a lot of people out there that I think have a much harder life. So I'm very grateful for the story that we have.
I was trying to understand who's influencing, who are, one of the biggest influencers in for my guests, right? And you were mentioning that your father was doing a degree in California. So, and you were surrounded by these kind of things very early on, trying to understand, um, was that something that was like taught, or did you caught it up because out of curiosity, and were these kind of discussions, or hey, look, this is what I'm doing at the moment. Do you would like to have a look? I'm trying to see behind. I try to find a pattern how people like you have been raised and being surrounded when they grew up.
Yeah. I mean, I'm like, I think our parents obviously have a big impact on our lives. I think it was like, early on, I think it was just something that, you know, it's hard to kind of like draw a line where it was taught, or like a self sort of discovered interest. I guess it's hard to see where that line is. But I would say, like, obviously, growing up, like Legos was like a very common thing that I was very interested in, as if, I'm sure a lot of other children are the same. Um, I think one specific moment I could recall was that there was this when we first moved to Canada. This is around when like the PlayStation 2 was out. I think it was just before PlayStation 3. And I remember I wanted this video game, and it's just like a stupid video game. And my dad was essentially like, I could get you this game, or I could get you this like Lego Mindstorm kit, which was like the robotics Lego kit at that time.
Yeah.
Uh, and you choose. And in that moment, I knew I wanted the Lego robotics kit, and I chose that kit. And I think that is what like sort of spun off this entire sort of like obsession with robots since I was about like 12, 13 or so. And then ultimately drove me to do my industry experiences in academia and all that kind of stuff.
It's nice that you can recall a specific moment, um, even though we all know that throughout the time and over time, yeah, there might be a bit different from what actually happened, right? But it's nice that you can see there was at least something that gave you a little bit of a push into a specific direction. One of the guests I just had, he told me that he also wanted to have video games and a bike, a mountain bike, and whatsoever. So he started to work very early on. So the entrepreneurial mindset was not something that was like taught, but that would came out of like his own interests. So it was born through his need of having like a bicycle or a video game. Um, you being in contact now with the Lego, and you said that later on this developed into more interest. So math and physics, is that something that came easy to you?
Yeah, math for sure. Physics certainly. And then overall, I think the thing is like I was more interested in engineering than I guess the pure math and sort of like physics theories. I had like a thing where I just like building things. Just like random gadgets at home that I would hack together. And then I did a bachelor, master, and PhD in mechanical engineering. So all very, very hands-on, so like building things. Uh, yeah.
Um, when I ask about the parents, and you said something already, some of my guests they had farmers as parents or artists. I use this example very often to show that it's not necessarily the profession that your parents are doing, right? I mean, it has a big influence, but one of the things that's behind that is encouraging, supporting, um, lighting up this spark of curiosity. How was that for you? Was that something that did you have a lot of interaction with your parents or family, extended family or siblings, or were you one of the yeah? Please.
Yeah, I think it's maybe like a little bit of everything, I would say. Like I would say like my mom was more into like the arts, like fashion. She had a clothing store. She paints and all this kind of stuff. My dad was the sort of the more technical engineering side. Um, so growing up, to be honest, find myself having like I was good at robotics, but I also had a lot of interests in kind of like the arts world. I do photography, I do filmmaking, I do kind of like music production even as well. And I feel like it's kind of like just maybe it's like a little bit of everything. Like, with one parent you get like more the artistic side, and then with the other parent you get more like the technical rigor. Um, yeah, and things just I guess happen that way, I guess.
And I know a few people actually from Canada, and I think I had on my podcast two or three people from Vancouver. And before I had the podcast, I was very surprised that there was a tech scene. Maybe because it's too far away from me, but I was very interested in to see that there was quite a community building things, right? And how was that for you? Which
Right.
city are you coming from?
So I'm from Toronto, Canada,
Ah, yeah.
and
Mhm.
Toronto, the University of Toronto is like known for what they've done in the AI world. Up to the Godfather, which is Jeff Hinton, and all the folks that worked with him there. So there certainly is like a pretty good and talented, I think, group of engineers, scientists in the Toronto slash Waterloo area for sure.
But you still make the decision to go to the Bear area. Why is that?
Uh, yeah. I think, I mean, it's like always it's always about like increasing your surface of luck, I would say.
Hmm.
It's like I think for an idea like this, which I know is unorthodox to most people when I first pitched it without the visuals. I don't think anybody had any idea what I was talking about. And I thought to myself, the only place where I could find people that could get what I was talking about was in San Francisco. So I came here because of that.
And when you, as you said earlier, you mentioned that you did the bachelor, master, and also a PhD. Uh, There's a lot of people staying in academia. I mean, nowadays it seems more and more people getting out of academia and trying to. I just had Laurel Pinto on the podcast, and he said that he had the sense of we do need to do this on our own, right? Not someone is picking the ideas and bringing them to production or to the industry or funding them. It's like we from academia, we need to be the one enabling and pushing those ideas into the industry. Uh, Among your peers, do you know a lot of people that started their own country, own company after their studies, or where
Yep.
you would you consider yourself
Um,
as, please?
yeah, yeah, no, I was gonna coming from Toronto, I would say I think none of my peers are decide to go down this path. I think in Canada, maybe it's more of a mindset thing as well. Maybe a little, I heard a little bit in Europe as well. Like there's this general feeling of like, why would you do something that's expected to fail? Kind of mindset. Whereas like people in the Bay Area, I find it's more like, you it's almost like statistically you're gonna fail, but because it's so exciting and the upside of what happens if you don't fail is so much greater, that it's more of a welcomed mindset in the Bay Area. So yeah, for me personally, being in Canada for my person, my education, my professional career, I don't know pretty much anyone. I know maybe one person that's tried to start a company. Um, yeah,
One of the reasons why I have this podcast, and I'm repeating myself here, is to try to understand this moment or this thought, these thoughts that are behind this to push you out of the door and actually, as you said, there is failure coming. I mean, statistically, it's there is more chances that you fail that you will not. But
yep.
embracing this and accepting this and feeling this more as being normal, as you said, you would like to surround yourself with people who don't think you're crazy. So, but who was it or what was it that actually enabled you to make this decision?
Uh, I think the main person that I think that pushed me towards this actually is my wife. I have to give a lot of credit to her actually,
Nice.
and if she's listening to this, she is the person that essentially because like back in Canada, it's like if you want to start something crazy that's statistically supposed to fail, no one's going to believe in you, and it's hard to want to build something when everybody around you is going to tell you that it's going to fail. Uh, but I'm very fortunate enough to have someone like my wife with me this for the past 13 years, where she was basically like, look, you have one life, we have one life. This is like, if other people can do it, why not us, right? What makes us different, right? So I would say like the most recent push was we finished our PhDs, and I was at a crossroad where I was like, look, I can obviously take this 9 to 5 job, or I can go and be a professor somewhere, or I can swing at something that I really, really feel passionate about. And you might as well do it while you're still young, right? So that's kind of like how the decisions came out to be.
This is the sole reason why I have this podcast. This is the only reason, or the main reason why I have this podcast. Is I remember I recorded the episode and I had it on my computer for 6 months. And you said something that I really like to hear, and I would love to hear it more often, and I would like to have it every single person on the podcast saying so that people that listen to this podcast can hear it. If they can do it, I can do it. So there's no difference. They they might be cleverer, work harder. So there's no difference between them and us, right? Why should we not be able to do it? This podcast is still small. I'm having this is episode, I don't know, 75 or 76 or 77 something, and it's still small. And but I enjoy that every single episode I enjoy, and I'm very thankful that you said yes. And I hope that um, someone is listening, being in a PhD role, and it doesn't have a wife for 13 years who is pushing, doesn't have a family who is pushing, but listening to this podcast and say, you know what, absolutely right. If he can do it, I can do it. I can also fail, right? And thank you for saying that. I really appreciate it. And but still, there's the theory of going there and doing it, and then actually going there and doing it. So, how is that? How is that for you?
So far, it's been, I mean, so far now I tell people like before coming to San Francisco, obviously hear the myth that is San Francisco, which is that, you go there to build companies. But as an outsider looking in, all I could see was what was happening on Twitter and all the movies and stories that you hear from the past. Um, so I always had like almost a certain level of doubt. I was like, how great can it really be, right? But I've been here for a few months, and I think in those few months, we as a company has made more progress than we've ever made, like all the years before. Granted, we weren't doing the same idea. My co-founder and I, we did our PhDs together. We were always sort of interested in starting companies, but it's different, I think, when you're in San Francisco for sure. Now I can say maybe I sound like one of those people from San Francisco that's promoting San Francisco, but the Bay Area is very nice for ambitious people.
You said a few times, or you used a few times the word crazy, and hearing things or starting to believe that what other people are telling you, like this is going to fail, or listing up all those reasons why this cannot work out, is definitely something that is discouraging and that is increasing the risk of failure so tremendously because you need to be able to convince others. You need to be able to convince yourself, right? And when people who know you and who love you, uh, not being able to convince and cannot push you and encourage you enough to, because I have and I say this I think also in every episode now, I have a little one, right? And um, I'm encouraging her. So we're climbing up something, or we're jumping into something, so all the things that we do, right? And I encourage her. And I see her niece, so she's bleeding every other day, but I encourage her, right? And now the question comes up, why are we, maybe people in Canada or maybe here in Germany, and I hear the voices of people that I love very deeply, but why they're not encouraging us so much? Why they're not saying, it's like, you can walk, come here to me, like a little one, right? And then you can do it. Just try it out. Go for it. I believe in you. So why is that? What do you think? Why is that so hard for people?
Yeah. Well, I don't think it's that they don't care about us. For sure,
No.
obviously the people in your family, I'm sure that they want the best for you. I think it's more so that the way they care is almost by encouraging you to take less risks just because it's safer. Because they almost feel like they want to protect you from the statistically speaking big failure that maybe they don't want you to have to go through. Um, but I guess that's kind of like how I see it, at least for my parents. For my to be honest, I'm being honest with you, they actually don't know what I'm doing right now. I intend to send them this podcast after this, and then maybe they'll find out what I've been doing. And uh, the reason is that yeah, like I think if I had told them up front, pretty much anyone really, that I was gonna go down this much more sort of riskier route, instead of the nice 9 to 5 job that I was offered, um, they'd probably be like, that's a bad decision. Uh, but to me, actually taking the job would be a worse decision, I think, in the long run. Uh, so yeah, that's sort of how I think about it.
Um, I mean, Just yesterday, I had an episode. I recorded an episode with Brenda, and she comes from a family of doctors, and she's now in tech. And I asked her how is the sit down, having a conversation with a family with a lot of doctors. Now telling Eve, and you went to med school, and everyone is expecting, right? Everyone is expecting. How do you sit down and have this kind of conversation? And I think every single way of doing it is the right way, because in the very end what counts is doing it, right? And sometimes it needs to be a podcast that needs to be sent to your parents to reveal what you guys are doing, and sometimes it's a sit down, right? And I think everything is justified because the doing part is so hard enough already, and disappointing people is always hard. But I think you choose the right thing, and because disappointing yourself is just way harder. So you're telling me that nobody knows what you guys doing at the moment?
No one, I mean, unless they went on Twitter. Not my family, not my immediate family. The only thing that knows from my end is my wife. She's been paying attention closely. She was the one that mentioned to me, she's like, Ilir, that's an Albanian name, I'm pretty sure.
Yes,
I'm
it
like, oh,
is.
maybe I'll ask.
Yeah, you
That's
do. Yeah, we had this combo. Let me see because I can find it very very fast. You were mostly so clever to pin it. Yes, you did. So we're talking about 4 million views. We are talking about 6.6K likes and 2.2K retweets and almost 2K comments. So guys, this is how you do a launch video, right? This is masterclass. I love it. And well, yeah, one of the reasons why I reached out to you because you reached me too, right? 4 million people. And I think you can be proud on a few things already, and you don't need to me to tell you, obviously. But going there was the first step. That takes guts. That takes guts. No, doesn't matter what anybody's saying. This is so cliche, and everyone would like to go to San Francisco. Going, jumping into your car, on the train, on the plane, walking, bicycling, just going there from A to B takes guts, and you're very brave. And I think you already accomplished something by going there, right? And you did the first step. And now you're is there already an entity? I guess yes.
sorry. Is
Is
there
it
sorry?
already like a registered entity?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
We've this company, I would say, from the moment it's registered until now, it's about 7 months. So we're still a pretty young company. The people that's working on this company with me are people I've known for 6+ years.
Mm.
Uh, so it feels like we've always been working on something like this. It's just this idea came to us relatively recently in the grand scheme of things. But yeah.
And um, how do you say this in English? Uh, the actually act of not forming a company but building something. You said that you guys were working for a longer period of time, making the decision on what to build and how to build. Um, you said the company is now existent for 7 months, but the idea was flying around earlier on. Is that something that you guys are carrying with you? Because doing a PhD takes some time.
Yeah, yeah. So funny story, like my co-founder and I, we started our PhDs together and we finished together. But there was about like 3 years during our PhD since about COVID, where we sort of just had, I guess, more free time because no one had any social life during COVID, right? That was when we started sort of building side businesses and building different companies. But this was around like the GPT-2, GPT-3 era. So we were building like some early chat apps, different types of like workflow agents. And that got us into entrepreneurship, to be honest. Like I would say I came into entrepreneurship maybe relatively later compared to other people. Um, and then like, but we were doing it like as a side thing on top of our PhD. So we do the PhD the whole day, and then all night we were building apps. The moment we sort of like finished and graduated, that was when we were like, we need to go, full time building this, and we need to stick to what we're really great at, which is all this like decades long worth of robotics experience. And that was we graduated like November 2024. We spent about a month just like brainstorming in December, and we started building January this year. Uh, but this the first half of this company, we were trying to actually build humanoid robots. We didn't think too much about it. We just wanted to build arms mounted on wheels, essentially. And then we had this like whole experience of like deploying it into homes, deploying it into hotels. That's how we like came to this conclusion that uh, getting the average person to adopt like an industrial grade machine is difficult, and there's a large learning curve. So we had to sort of like almost take a step back and rethink the problem from first principles essentially, and figure out what is it exactly people actually want. And the simple conclusion that we came to was just that people don't want to do chores, and people didn't want robots in their home. So we took those two insights and we said, okay, let's try to get rid of chores, which we knew from an engineering perspective had to be some version of a robot. But we wanted to do it in a way that doesn't make people feel like they're living in a factory, essentially. And that makes people feel safe, that makes people feel like their privacy is respected. Um, so one thing led to another. I've said this on some of the other podcasts, but I was actually watching Beauty and the Beast with my wife. Again, I keep mentioning her because she really is sort of the driving force of this. And it was from that movie and all those insights that sort of like got us to this current design, which is a floor lamp that transforms into robotic arms.
I I'm always interested in the thinking process because it shows the absurdities of what can have an influence, right? You were just mentioning a movie, right? And it shows that everything is okay and everything is good, right? There's no you need to sit on a desk with a lot of books and you need to be in the library and be surrounded by even more books. It can be every place, and it can be something like a movie that inspires you. The decision to follow this path, and you said that from an engineering point that is clear, and even though the video exploded, there is a huge gap between assumptions and verified um, information. That can be a waitlist, right? As simple as a waitlist. But especially if one of the listeners into this internet bubble of entrepreneurship, you will hear very often that don't start building until you have someone who's willing to pay for it, right? And so there's a reason why the word MVP is so important, or first prototype is so important, or pilot projects are important. Um, how is that for you? How did you verify? Um,
Yeah.
yeah, how did you verify the idea?
Yeah. I mean, so it was through like obviously we had to build like so I sort of touched on a little bit about it. Like we build a sort of like a mobile robot with arms attached to try to fold laundry for people. And it's like they're talking to people, obviously like laundry folding, and a lot of robotics companies are doing this. It's like an annoying task that there's no alternative for. So you have to like manually do it or it just gets left in a pile. So it makes sense as like a task for robots to complete. But we verified at least from our perspective, when we were going into homes and hotels, that shipping a large clunky machine was not going to be the way that people happily adopt. So we knew that we needed to go into kind of like different form factor. With this particular form factor, we launched on Twitter. I didn't expect to do anything of it. I have a very small Twitter account that I use primarily during my PhD to follow up with like robotics researchers and new papers, all that kind of stuff. So when we posted the video, I was primarily looking for like almost like comments and feedback from other robotics researchers to just like, hey, here's a novel form factor. What do we all think? Um, Obviously, it then blew up. We have a wait list. It's a paid wait list just to get a little bit of a stronger signal. We started at $50 to get on the wait list, and we got hundreds of pre-orders. Um, then I realized that maybe $50 was too cheap. So we've like sort of consistently raised it over time. At this moment, it's at like $200. There's an extra button. This is the wild one where it was press this button for $2,000 and you're guaranteed a spot in the first batch. Um, originally when I set out to do this, I didn't think that people would press the $2,000 button. But now knowing what I know now and how much people hate laundry folding, um, I wish I had put that button earlier on because now that we're a few weeks out from virality now, right? There are still people coming on with the $2,000 button, which I'm very, very grateful, but also very, very surprised by.
So always trying to derive lessons from my podcast. So the name is Building the Tech, and so it's not
Mhm.
necessarily only not a technical podcast. So it's a people podcast, but it's also an entrepreneurial podcast. And so you already did a few things very right? I mean, coming up with a video that blows off like this is not something that you can do very calculated. Some people might do it a bit better, but the majority it's luck, right? How did this come together? The video, the website, waitlist. You were talking about your co-founder and the entrepreneurial side of it, but still, how did you come up with that road plan,
Yeah.
roadmap?
Yeah. On the video, so I think I touched up a little bit earlier on. So I'm like a big fan of movies, shows, advertisements. Like I can appreciate like just like really nicely filmed or produced or made works of art. This particular 30-second clip, um, I was actually very inspired by this really old Apple ad. I know it's kind of cliche, but Apple used to be so good at marketing. And there was this ad where you might have seen it, but essentially it does this like slow zoom in, and you see on the table there's like this pencil, and the whole time you hear this voice describing what you think is the pencil that's in frame because it just keeps slowly moving in on the pencil. And then eventually someone reached behind the pencil and grabs the iPad and shows that it's actually the iPad that this person was talking about. But it was genius because it showed how thin the iPad was that it could be hidden behind the pencil. Um, so it was like that is like one of my favorite ads of all time. And I was trying to do a version of that where I knew the video had to be short. I'm not an influencer by any means, but I at least knew that people have like no attention span. So I knew that whatever that needed to happen has to happen in the first 10 seconds. And pretty much after 10 seconds, I think the drop off is like 50% of the viewers. And I wanted to keep it simple because I knew that the idea was already radical enough that it would take a lot of, you know, getting used to. So I just kept like a still frame, a slow zoom in. The robot was always in frame, and then the wow factor or the surprise thing that happens at 10 seconds is that they transform into arms and does the task for you and video hands, and that's it. Uh, we wanted to just keep it very simple and just clear to the point of what it does. Obviously, we sort of envision this robot to be doing a lot more than just laundry folding and how it can be sort of placed anywhere in the home. But just through talking to people, we found that a lot of people do their laundry in the bedroom. We found out there's always these lamps on the bedside table already. So we just went with like a scene that I felt was like the most average looking scene, at least to most people, so that they could relate to it. And then we kind of like packaged it together into like a short 30-second clip. And it was obviously it's a render. It's not a real video. And the intent really was again, it's almost like the MVP of the MVP where we wanted to a quick and fast way to paint a vision of the future that we see for people because doing it through words is often a lot harder to get that sort of like feedback, that validation. We have a prototype that's also working in parallel. But the main thing for us was that consumer sensibility that like, what do people actually want? Would people actually see themselves using this in their home? And that was like the way we thought we would be able to get the quickest feedback on.
Even though you guys have a wait list and you have a $2,000 button, you're not gonna bootstrap, do you?
No, no. So we are currently actually in the middle of a raise. We're almost done the raise actually, and which I'll have like more to share with hopefully in the next week or so.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, the first half of this company was bootstrapped. We had some like sort of like early believers after our PhDs that came in from London actually. If he's listening to this, he gave us some money, $30,000. It wasn't a lot. Uh, and he would just like go build. I don't care what you guys do. I believe in you guys. Go build something and let me
Nice.
know. And I very recently sent him the tweet. It's like we went viral thanks to your early belief in us, and he was very happy.
Thank you for sharing this behind the scene info. I think this is people love this kind of thing. I love it. Um, so I guess the team's very small, just you and tell me.
Right now, yeah, right now we're six people. We're okay. Let's say that we're yes, we're six people. Four of us are in person here in San Francisco. One is remote from Canada, and then one is remote from Europe.
Interesting, especially throughout the time zone. You were talking about prototype or MVP of MVP, and you already talked about going to customers, hotels, and so on. Was that something that was strange for you to do? Because in a lab, it's an environment, especially if you've been in academia, bachelor, master, PhD for quite a while, you know the in and outs of how to behave, and you are among your peers. But talking to hotels is not necessarily something that comes easy to someone who is building robots. Tell me about this.
There's actually there's a funny story here actually. Um,
That's why you're here.
we that we people don't believe when I tell them this story, especially some of the recent investors, but I have proof for this. But you're right in the sense that I didn't know anyone in the hotel industry. I worked a waiter job a long time ago, but that was at like a small inn somewhere in the country. We so I had basically no connections to anyone in the hotel industry, but we were still able to get demos and pilots at a Marriott back in Toronto. And it started simply by me and my co-founder. We applied to be housekeepers at this Marriott. We we took out the PhD and all that kind of technical stuff, and we just simply applied to work as a housekeeper at the Marriott. And for like 2 days, about 2 days, we were shown everything in the hotel, from housekeeping to engineering to kitchen to like all the laundry, because they had a central laundry sort of facility at this particular Marriott. Like the people at this Marriott were so lovely. They're from Toronto, they're by the airport. They showed us everything, and they like just like were interested in what we were doing, and they trained us to basically go through like the full sort of housekeeping procedure, like making the bed to cleaning the toilet to sorting all this stuff. Um, it was through doing all that and seeing like how hotels actually function, and then like imagine like putting a robot in that setting and seeing how it actually will generate like an ROI for the hotel owners or whatever. It was like through doing all that hands-on real stuff outside of the lab that we came to the conclusion that it didn't make a whole lot of sense uh, to try to shove an industrial robot into a housekeeping role in a hotel.
How long have you guys been yeah working or being trained on the in the Marriott? So how much time did you spend at the hotel? Because you said that you have been. Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes. No, I think it seems to be my connection. Um, I was asking, how long have you been with or at the Marriott Hotel?
It was about a week. It was about a week until we needed to see like what we needed to do and get that really valuable feedback really early on. This was like maybe a month or two into this company. So this is like January, February this year.
Nice. I just spoke recently to someone else building robot cells, and they said, one of the first customer partnership they had, they moved the entire team to the facility, to the factory, and they stayed there for 8 months. So, I mean, a factory is uh, not necessarily more complex than the hotel, right? Because there's a lot of in and out at the hotel as well. But I think you guys did very well in really digging into where the problem sits, right? And trying to understand the different perspective of it, right? Because when you're in the lab is lab, but reality is reality.
Yeah, 100%. It was like, I mean, that was also one of the reasons why I wanted to start a company because like for a long time when we were doing our PhDs, it's like we get exposed to all these like super cool technology, super cutting edge stuff that does all these amazing things. Um, but then it's like the moment you leave the lab and you go back to talk to your family or your friends or whatever, no one really knows what's going on or what even is possible. So I guess that is kind of like one of the reasons why I decided to go into the industry and build a company is because I feel like there's all this great tech that needs to be distilled to the masses. And I almost see myself, or we almost see ourselves as like a Robin Hood of some sort, of taking like really, really great tech and then putting it into something that the masses can sort of benefit from. Uh, yeah.
The early stages are also the most chaotic stages, and I mean, maybe you can tell us a little bit what are the next steps for you guys?
Yeah, it's chaotic, but at the same time, it's actually quite clear for us. It's to put simply, we have a wait list of a bunch of people that we promise that we want to ship in 12 months. So that's exactly what we're focused on doing. We're gonna close the round pretty soon, so we're gonna have enough resources to be able to ship. We're taking people off the wait list 6 months from now, 10 at a time. These are folks primarily in the Bay Area that's agreed to be like the early beta tester club. So our team is just going to show up, hand deliver these early units, install it for them, teach them, and get them working. And then 12 months from now, we'll start addressing like the rest of the wait list essentially.
You were mentioning your co-founder. Is when I'm talking to founders, uh, I think I only had more than one person just once in the podcast. So, what do you think is the best thing about your co-founder that is complementary to you, and what are the things that are maybe where you complete each other? Why do you think this is a good match?
Uh, I think I I was reading this. I mean, the my first answer is that we sort of have this like he is the only person that worked and I've worked with a lot of people just like through the past 10 years doing this, right? He's like the only person that I felt like that kind of like operates on the same uh kind of like wavelength as me in terms of just like communication and kind of like mutual respect and just like you touch on complementary skills like I think the technical term we try to put it into words is that he's more like a convergent thinker and I'm more like a divergent thinker. So together we sort of like almost balance each other out in a way, which I find to be very enjoyable. So we've obviously sort of like went from ideas to ideas over the past several years. We've kind of like collaborated on research papers and building different robots over the course of the PhD. So all of that sort of like built this foundation between us where it's like we just sort of, really enjoy working with each other.
It's interesting to see you guys so early on. I mean, I have a lot of founders that are very early in their journey, and sometimes it's a second or third company. But it's nice that you said yes to this podcast, even though I just saw the video and I just reached out. DM was open. DMs are were open, and yeah, you were so kind to catch a little chat that we had last week or the week before that on telephone. I'm curious to see where you guys will be in 6 months when you start. No, you said you will start shipping in within 12 months, right?
We will have early beta tester units 6 months from now, and the
Oh,
majority of people, there's 12 months from now.
yeah. I mean, there's a lot of building involved, right? From the MVP to the first shipping. Very exciting times. 6 people. I mean, I like the that you guys think that. I mean, because you said you're early on bootstrapping and now raising a bit, but not crazy numbers, but numbers that enable you guys to ship. Are you afraid? Are you
Afraid of
afraid? Yeah. What is the because we're talking about failures early on. So what do you think in your and without being too detailed, what is the biggest challenge for you guys?
challenge wise, let me think. I mean, on the topic of being afraid, I would say we're not really afraid of failure. I think that's pretty clear. I think anybody doing a company can't be scared of failure. In terms of like specific challenges, Uh, Obviously there's like always going to be the low level stuff that's like the boring stuff, the engineering and the customers and the finances and all that kind of stuff, but that's like inevitable and is I guess I would almost not really even consider that a challenge. I think what I see as a challenge is more like the bigger picture, like the long term, sort of like, you know, if if we don't get to do this, what does it mean for the rest of the robotics world, right? Do is it a good thing if there's just these armies of humanoid robots that are super intelligent, smarter than us, more capable than us, and that is the main thing that everyone is adopting? um, what would that world look like for us, for the next generation as well. Uh, I personally feel like that version of the future is a bit gloom, and I almost kind of feel like and don't get me wrong, I feel like there's always this like debate of like do you believe in humanoids or not or whatever. I actually do like humanoids, and I think there's actually a lot of places where they make a lot of sense. I just don't personally think the home is primed for humanoids. I think the factories and maybe public spaces and retail settings, I think it makes sense. But homes, I feel like should be something that's very much up to the owners of the home or the residents of the home to decide if they want to live with like a robotic roommate, essentially, or if they just want tools that they can call on sort of on demand and get rid of chores for them. Um, I think that if we don't get to do this, then we're not leaving people with a lot of choices down the road.
Just today, earlier on, I talked to someone splitting up the idea of having a humanoid. Let's say does vacuum cleaning or dishwashing, and how much value is that, right? How much value do you provide, and how much does that cost if you would like make it, if you would pay someone doing that? In then regards in how much a humanoid costs, and how much would it cost to rent that humanoid or buy that humanoid? And so yeah, it will be very interesting to see how this entire humanoid topic will work out. But you guys are not building humanoids at the moment. You guys are more on the application layer, something that is finding its way into our homes, something that people can actually use much earlier on that humanoid might be deployed in our homes. So I'm very thankful that you said yes to our little chat. I hope that everything will work out for you guys. And yeah, maybe we can talk in 12 months when the first bigger batch will be deployed.
Yeah, 100%. I'd be happy to show you. We have a lot of content and events lined up between now and then. We are we're going to try to our best to build in public because we want to keep everybody in the loop, and especially those who have pre-ordered. I think we owe it to them to show them where their products are. So yeah, definitely a lot of exciting stuff coming up in the next few months, and happy to hop on a call again 12 months from now to see how much of it came true or not.
Yeah, like I said, thank you for taking the time. And you said that you're about to close the funding round, right? So you said within the next few weeks, you maybe might be able to tell us a little bit. Reach out to me. My DMs are always open. And thank you for taking the time.
Yep, absolutely. Thank you. I'll
Mm.
talk to you later.
Take care. Bye bye.